I'm Noah.
And I'm Marci.
We grew up watching Disney Channel, and every few months, a new Disney Channel original movie, or DCOM, would be released.
Since we were kids, we used to love spending those evenings getting snacks and watching new, sometimes relatable movies on our favorite channel.
Well, now we're not really kids anymore, but we thought that we could revisit our younger selves by rewatching all 110 DCOMs, and we want you to join us for the nostalgia.
So, every Friday, we're sharing our thoughts and feelings on the DCOM of the week. So join us, the DCOMKids, in our discussion after rewatching the Poof Point.
Excellent job. It only took us 4 tries this time.
Hey, I'll take 4
We're
over
getting
10.
better. Yeah, 4 is much better than 10. Right on. Well, welcome everyone to DCOMKids. I'm your host, Noah Parker, and this is Marci, and we were not going to do that because we already say our names at the beginning. I just got kind of lost.
I'm just here. You're the
Marci
host, and
exists.
I'm just here.
Exactly. Marci is a person, for sure. Right on. So this week we rewatched The Poof Point.
Yes.
And Adriana was reminding me as we were rewatching it, because I was like, oh, I want you to watch it with me. I want you to start rewatching them with me.
Yeah.
Because then it's more than just me sitting on my desk chair watching it. Like I can watch a movie with my wife.
Yeah.
And as we're watching it, she's like, I'm pretty sure we've seen this before. And I'm like, did we? Turns out we did watch it together somewhat recently. So it was all pretty fresh in my head, but not like super fresh, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely
cool.
Definitely a good one. See, obviously, because I've rewatched this before, we got it to it in the rewatch.
Yes.
It's one of those. It's one of those that's up there for me that I will just rewatch.
Yeah.
I can't help but thinking that if we did rewatch it together, it must have been pre me and you doing the first one.
Probably.
The first DCOMKids.
Yeah.
I guess we weren't calling it DCOMKids yet, but because since we've done that, I have not watched any DCOMs that we haven't already watched.
Yeah.
To try to maintain
the fresh.
If I don't remember things, I gotta get those reactions fresh the first time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Right on. Well,
Cool.
you want to go ahead and talk about the release date and the or not date, but
yes. Yeah. This movie was released in 2001, and it was written by Ellen Wise, Mel Friedman, and Stu Krieger.
yes. I screwed us up, I think. No, we didn't. I was going to say I screwed us up because now our cast is backwards from what we practiced. Because we practiced the cast to make sure we got things right.
Yes.
Not really. We just reread them. Read them ahead of time, but I only read the ones that I thought I was going to do, and I thought I just screwed that up. But we did not.
You're good.
I'm good. So, Raquel Lee, I forgot how we said that, Baleo.
Yes.
Played Marie Ballard.
Mark Curry played Norton Ballard.
Yep. And then Taj Mowry played Eddie Ballard.
Dawn Lewis played Marigold Ballard.
Jan Broberg played Corky.
Bruce Newbold played Chick.
Haley McCormick played Lizzie Cook.
Alyssa Rulin played Annie.
And Laura Summer played the spaceship computer voice. Even though it was not a spaceship, it was only perceived as a spaceship when they were children.
They were 2 years old.
Yes. Actually, I think it was technically 4 when they started calling it the spaceship. And then they regressed into 2.
No, because they go from 7 to 2. I just watched the movie last night, trust me.
Are you sure? I could have swore they hit 4 at one point first. No. All right.
Because they're 7 and they're upstairs and they hear a crash.
Yeah.
Because they're 7 when they're looking for the...
Right.
You'll read it in the notes later.
Okay. I thought they went to 4, but that's okay. That doesn't... You're probably right. All right. Neil Israel directed this film. Christopher Brady and Peter Wayland gave us the music. Robert Seaman gifted us with the delightful cinematography. And Lee Axel's editing tied the whole thing together.
And Stu Krieger returns from Xenon the Sequel.
That's supposed to say Krieger. That was a typo.
Oh, sorry, Krieger. Returns from Xenon the Sequel, Smart House, and Phantom of the Megaplex.
Yeah, welcome back, writer Stu. He was Stu, writer in all the other ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, writer or co-writer, yeah.
That's good stuff. I believe you get to read the Disney Plus summary.
I do, yes. All right, Disney Plus summary. Eddie and Marie's parents are busy scientists with very little time for their kids. After inventing a time machine, the parents discover that instead of going backwards in time, the machine has started making them mentally younger. Now, Eddie and Marie must work together to get their parents back to normal before they age back to the Poof Point and disappear forever.
Scary stuff.
Scary stuff.
Before we really get into it, I'll just want to, I don't know if I want to point this out at the beginning, or mention this at the beginning or do it at the end. I'll do it at the end.
Okay.
If I remember.
I was going to say, you might want to say it now just so you don't forget.
I guess I could. I think the only thing that would have made this movie better is if it was more, and maybe they didn't because of this.
Okay.
If it was more 17 again.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the one with Zac Efron.
But the one with
Tia and Tamara Mowry.
And Taj.
Yeah. All three of them are in that. Almost the same storyline, sort of. But the grandparents have they get that soap on them, or what? They get that lotion on them that makes them age. Yeah,
so they have like a bar of soap, and like I believe Taj's character is experimenting.
Yeah, I think that's
he's
right.
like a science nerd kid.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And he's doing some experiment, and it spills in the garage and onto the box
of bars of soaps. Yeah. That's right. Yes. And so then the grandparents get it, and then they start de-aging, but it's not mentally, like
no, it's like physically, and it's overnight.
That's a weird choice with this.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of 17 again that if they're like, we can't do that because it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's possible.
But I don't know, because I'm like, they see themselves as the age they think they are. Yeah, when they look in the mirror,
they see themselves.
So that's why, for me, I'm like, why wouldn't they just...
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that carry over? Like, I feel like that would make a little more sense. Like, the thing is with the goldfish, like, you can't tell if the goldfish are physically de-aging or just mentally.
Maybe it was like a budgeting thing, and they couldn't hire other actors to play them as their younger selves.
That's fair. I guess that's fair.
So they just kind of made it like they just mentally.
Okay.
That's my theory.
Point taken. I'll concede for now, but I'm just saying. All right.
I understand.
Yes. Let's jump on into our scene by scene. Have you ever wondered what your parents were like when they were kids? Well, for Eddie and Marie Ballard, they don't have to wonder because they got to see it for themselves. As we see Eddie explain how it all started on an average morning, well, average for their house of scientists, we hear an earth-shaking explosion and Norton and Marigold Ballard emerging from the basement, talking about what went wrong, but are interrupted with a reminder from Eddie and Marie about their graduation.
As Norton and Marigold return to the lab, followed closely by the family dog Einstein, they are entering their time travel formula when Norton shoos Einstein away, but instead of going upstairs, he follows a cockroach near one of the machines and accidentally knocks a very important piece out, the vector modular. We don't need the details, we just need to know that it is very bad that is missing from the machine. Einstein is trying to warn Norton, but once again, he shoos him away.
So as they're continuing to enter their formula, and we hear a very computerized voice counting down. I can't even mimic it. 10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. That was not even the same computer voice, so I didn't want to do it at first, but then I just sent it.
Just went for it.
And so on. They start the machine, watching their time machine in action. We see their test subjects, 2 goldfish, spinning, but the machine slows to a stop, and the fish are still there. On their way to the graduation, Marigold and Norton are being tutored on how to behave like normal parents. Who is Marie's friend group, and topics to talk about with other parents.
While at the graduation, Eddie and Marie are receiving their diplomas and look out to see their parents are too distracted reworking their formula for the time machine to even see them walking across the stage. After the graduation, Marie tests her parents with her friends. So sorry.
You're good.
I keep tapping my screen and then it shoots it to a different place, so that's why I keep losing my spot. Okay.
That's fair.
Okay, after the graduation, Marie tests her parents with her friends, Annie and Lauren, to which they pass. After embarrassing their kids, Norton and Marigold join the other parents and attempt to fit in. Next thing we know, Norton is showing an experiment, classic glasses and magnifying glass experiment. They accidentally set the principal's cap on fire.
After returning home, Marigold and Norton go back to the lab, where they notice the goldfish have vanished. So they replace them and start again. Only this time, they are accidentally sucked into the whirling vortex and are turned into their 21-year-old selves. Well, mentally, that is. When what the heck? Marie, my brain was just like shutting down for a second there. My bad.
All good.
When Marie and Eddie come down to check in on them, they find out that their parents have no idea who they are, what year it is, or what is going on.
Once they're back upstairs and have an impromptu musical moment, they return them to the lab to try and figure out how to fix it. And once they learn that their old experiment on de-aging made the goldfish poof, they calculate that the same thing could happen to them, and they have until exactly 6:01 p.m. the next night. So they work all night to find the solution, but just as any good science movie, something happens. Marigold and Norton start hiccuping and bubbling about they are de-aged to 14 years old.
Dun, dun, dun. Now Eddie and Marie have to try to talk their hormonal teenage parents. Talk to their hormonal teenage parents. This is where Eddie learns that his dad is amazingly talented on guitar, and Marie learns that her mom is super insecure and all about boys. Norton Ballard, to be exact. I read that so wrong. Next, we see Norton discovering MTV, and we see Eddie's friend Colin at the door, reminding him about his band audition at 3 at his house. Then, in their lab, we hear Norton and Marigold arguing about how they're going to figure out the mathematics and science equations when all of a sudden the emotions take over and Marigold takes Marie to the bathroom to have a small heart-to-heart. And that's when Marie sees that her mom does understand her feelings and what it's like to be a teenage girl.
Then, while Marie and Eddie are talking, Marigold and Norton sneak out of the house and get themselves lost. While Marie and Eddie are looking for them, Marie is across the street at their neighbor's, Chick and Corky Cook's house, where they're complaining about Marigold and Norton's experiments and explosions disrupting the neighborhood, and they're starting a petition to have them kicked out of the neighborhood.
Eddie finally finds Norton sitting on a bus bench and is amazed again by his dad's secret talent of bike tricks, hopping on and off the sidewalk and showing off with a jump onto the bench. And here we have a slight heart-to-heart with Norton and Eddie. Then we see Marigold at a diner listening to a sad song from the jukebox, drinking a milkshake when Chloe, Marie's worst enemy, comes over and Marigold spills the tea on her feelings about Norton. Only Chloe thinks she's talking about Marie having a crush. While Chloe is
spilling the tea.
my eyes aren't working right. Okay. I need to start wearing my glasses when we do this. I really do, because I can't focus on this stuff. Okay, While Chloe is spilling to the other girls, she mentions the Urban Slugs, a popular high school band Eddie is auditioning for. They start to spread the news and invite the entire school to their quote-unquote party.
That was a bad phrase on my end, sorry. Back at home, Eddie and Norton are jamming out, and then Marigold finds her way back to the house and kisses Norton and asks him to go steady with her. To which he freaks out and starts to panic and runs to hide in the greenhouse. After comforting him, Eddie and Marie decide they would do to their parents what their parents would do to them when they're fighting. Sit them down and tell them that no one is leaving until they work things out. And it worked. They figured out the formula, and when Eddie pressed enter, the machine started to spin, and then Norton and Marigold disappeared. But then Eddie pressed undo. They reappeared, but to 30 seconds before they hit the enter button, meaning the time machine worked.
The funny thing there is that he hits escape on the keyboard, and just on the keyboard above the escape key is written undo. And it's like,
Yeah.
guys, that's so lazy.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, well. Then with a ding dong, Eddie remembers his audition. And when he goes to turn the band away, he is shocked to see over 150 kids standing at the front door. After talking to Colin, they give in and the party is on. As the party is happening, the cooks across the street decide they're going to call the cops, and they're glad their daughter Lizzie isn't like the kids across the street. But just as they're walking inside, we see Lizzie crossing the street to join them.
The party, that is.
I felt like that was clear. But
Oh, okay. Then, while Eddie is playing with the band, Norton and Marigold find Marie and tell her about the missing piece from the machine. And all they have to do is find it, re-enter the equation, and then the de-aging happens again. And now they're 7 years old. And nothing ruins a party like 2 7-year-olds, especially when they're your parents. After getting their parents back into the lab, Marie goes up to shut down the party, but Chick and Corky are already there with the police, and they learn Lizzie has snuck out to join the party, and she bravely confronts them and gets her parents to stop the petition.
back in the lab, Eddie tells them whoever finds the missing piece gets to ride the, quote, spaceship. And this starts a searching montage. Everyone looking around the lab, in the couches, under the bed, all while Einstein is sneakily moving around the missing piece. And at 15 minutes to Poof Point, Eddie and Marie have a small heart-to-heart and realize their parents were just like them, especially when they were teens.
Then we hear a distant hiccup and a crash. And when Marie and Eddie run to see what happened, we see Marigold sitting on the floor, covered in spaghetti and crying, and Norton in the bathroom covered in toilet paper. And we learn they have poofed to 2 years old. While Marie is explaining to Eddie that they need to recalculate the original equation to their parents' height and weight instead of the goldfish, Norton sees Einstein and goes over to pet him. And in return, Einstein gives him the vector modular.
Once they get the vector modulator back into the machine, and just as they are getting them into the machine, Norton starts dancing around, and Marie has to take him to the bathroom. Just as their time is running out, Marie types the new calculations and hits enter. The machine whirls around for the last time, and Norton and Marigold are saved. They return to their normal 40-year-old selves, and now with a new sense on life. New positive outlook on life, perhaps. Marigold and Norton are spending more time doing, quote, normal things with Eddie and Marie, having barbecues, traveling, and time traveling, to be exact.
And we close out this hilariously hijinks movie with Eddie shredding on the guitar. The end.
Oh, I already hit the button to make it do that, and then I hit it again. That's okay. Yay! That is Poof Point. We're doing a better job, I feel like, of getting to the point and not getting buried in the details. Like, I feel like if you watch, if you guys were to watch the first DCOM rewatch that we did, which was Brink, like almost 2 years ago now. It was like a year and a half. A year and a half ago. We were basically like, and then this happened, and we go through the entire scene, like. Yeah. Almost
it was
verbatim,
scene by scene.
Yeah,
almost line by line. But that's how much we loved Brink. Too.
I really loved Brink. I really did. So this format is much better. We hope you guys are enjoying it. Cool. What was your favorite scene in this movie?
There were a lot of really good ones.
You say that literally every time, I do too.
Because
I took something out.
The only time I didn't say that was for like movies that we didn't remember, like Ready to Run. That one I was like, what was my favorite scene?
Yeah, valid.
No, but this one I really like when their parents, ironically, when they're like 14. Yeah. And they see them, they're like, oh, you were like me when you were a teenager. Right. Kind of thing. And it's like that realization where it's like, you do know how I'm feeling. But like, you also get to see that the parents from the beginning to when they're 14, it's like they forgot what it was like to be 14.
They really got super sucked into like their careers and their science and
they're
stuff.
like, because one of the things that Marigold always told Marie was like, don't worry about boys, you're too young for boys. But then like literally it seemed like Norton and Marigold grew up together. How it seemed.
Basically like from like
even when they were
elementary,
2 years old,
younger. Yeah, I guess kindergarten. That would be.
That's younger than
that's
kindergarten.
Daycare.
Yeah, that's not even preschool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like
that's really cool. That's
I also love when they were like trying to find their way back to the house after they ran away, and they're like, we're never gonna be together, blah, blah, and then like it like pans over and it's the tree.
It's the tree.
Heart,
yeah,
and it
that's
says
so
Norton
cute.
And Marigold forever.
Because that was a good catch. There is that playground is where his house was.
Yeah, that's where his house used
like
to
when
be.
when he was 14, that's where he lived, and now it's a playground. That's super weird.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what that would be like in real life. Like I couldn't imagine riding my bike across. Granted, the house we really grew up in. Well, one of the two houses I grew up in is across the street from my current house. Yeah. Pretty weird, but I think my favorite scene is honestly, if ironically, in that same area, but it's like two different scenes with an honorable mention towards the end. Okay. My two favorite scenes are the scene where, good grief, Norton is first just shredding on that guitar. Yeah. Freaking cool. I love that scene. And then the second scene is with the BMX tricks, the bike tricks. Yeah. I loved both of those scenes. Yeah. I don't know why. I just think it's really cool.
I think it was just cool that it was like, because he's like very science man. That's all that Eddie knows him as. Yeah. And then like he sees him like that and he's like, you're living like a second life. Right. Or he's like, you grew out of your hobbies or whatever. Yeah. You know, so.
The thing that I thought was hilarious about that is that Eddie has like at least 4 guitars. Right. And a bass. Yeah. At least one bass. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, and Dad's never just like dabbled on it. Like he's, that's crazy. Yeah. Not one point, whatever. Yeah. And then I got a little confused at one point because I was under the impression basically the whole time talking about the audition that he was going to be auditioning to be a guitarist for the band. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's playing the bass. He's playing the bass. And it's the first time you see him playing the bass in the movie. He's been shredding the electric guitar the whole time. So, but pretty cool though that, I mean, I don't know. No, that's a drummer. I was going to say, they say if you can play the bass, you can drum.
No, it's
but
vice versa.
Yeah, if you can drum, you can play the bass. But that still doesn't enter into what I was going to say, which is if you can play the guitar, you can play the bass. I feel like those skills probably transfer a lot easier than drums to bass. But yeah. Anyway, the honorable mention scene is this one of the things that I think is the funniest in the whole movie is when Norton goes pee. he's like, I made a pee-pee.
Norton made a pee-pee.
You want to see? And he's like picking his nose. I love that part. It cracks me up every time.
He's just like a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And like when they're like returned to their 40-year-old selves, and he's like, did I say Norty made a pee-pee?
And then like, you remembered all that?
They're like, kind of like
it's like a blur. And to me, okay, honestly, that was a funny, like fun little thing that I thought made total sense. Yeah. Is that like those they would have those memories, but they would be buried because they would be memories, but they'd be buried where all those other 14-year-old memories are. Yeah. And so like you'd be like, imagine you're watching a tape, right? Like you recorded a show. Yeah. And you're watching it. And then randomly in the middle, someone recorded something on MTV, right? That's what I imagine their brains are like at this point.
Yeah. It's
you
like
have these memories from at 7 and then this thing that happened yesterday. Yeah. But today.
But you were 14, but like.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I imagine it's like. But
probably.
Which is why I think it's blurry.
Description for it. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. My other thing was least favorite scene. Is there something that you're just kind of like, yeah? By the way, I did take out the whole thing about Test of Time because I feel like it's getting pointless. We're getting
close to like
it's close enough to now, and it's even like 2001 was long enough ago that things are still different, and like all that stuff. But like honestly,
yeah,
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't, every time. I don't
Like-
think we've ever said anything in any of these DCOMs where I'm like, that didn't age well.
Yeah.
Most
I mean, like,
most everything does. Like,
yeah. This, and I think that's like Disney purposely did that, where they're like, okay, how can we make this like just quirky enough that it'll still be good in 23 years?
yeah, they did
24
they did a great
years,
job
you
with
know?
that. So
yeah.
okay, but anyway, sorry. Least favorite scene.
Probably when Chick and Corky are like pulling Marie around the house, and they're like, this is what happened last week when your parents' explosion happened. This happened, blah blah blah, and like they're like,
yeah,
they're
I
just
get
like,
that.
we started a petition and half the neighborhood has already signed it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's just mean.
that's pretty weak. Yeah,
Like-
I didn't dig that. I will tell you the one thing that like was like nails on a chalkboard the most to me in this whole movie.
Any science talk?
No, it was when Marigold is like 2-year-old Marigold or whatever, when she has the spaghetti on her head.
Yeah.
Nails on a chalkboard. That drove me so
Why?
nuts. I don't know. I just felt like she was overacting the fact that she was 7. It was like it was just a little much for me.
When they're like, how old are you?
Specifically
like,
when she says,
this man.
not even, it was, I guess it wasn't even that. I mean, that was over the top, but the specific line that like made me cringe physically when I was watching this was when she says, I want my bottle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I will agree with that. That one wasn't. That one didn't play anything.
For me, that's the one thing in this movie where I'm like, could you please just, maybe I'll just fast forward that bit.
Because like even when you see Norton as a 2-year-old, he's just in the bathroom playing with like the baby powder,
and he's like, I make a mess, or whatever.
Norty
right?
made a mess.
Yeah, which I think is funny.
I think it's cute that he calls himself Norty.
I do too. I dig
cute.
it. I don't know. I thought the whole I want my bottle thing was just like, I didn't like it.
That was when they first ran up into the kitchen.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing she says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that might be why too, because it's like the first introduction to them being 7 years. Like
that's
or
their
2
to being 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But
I don't know.
That's all I got to say about that.
Another favorite scene.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
real quick. When they are 7 and they find the floating ball experiment.
Oh yeah,
thingy,
yeah,
and
the
it just,
energy ball.
Yeah, and it just goes flying through, and then it goes into that kid's shirt, and he's like, "Whoa!"
Dude, that kid was honestly probably one of my favorites. I think I was just on my camera that whole time. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You don't have to see my face.
I don't know. I didn't look over. But yeah, that kid was one of my favorites in the whole thing because he just like keeps seeing this weird stuff and he's just like, cool.
Yeah, because he like sees them transfer from 14 to 17.
He watches them
7.
do the hiccup and the bubble. Oh,
and then he's like, wild.
Yeah, he was like, that's as close as you can get to having a stoner in a DCOM.
Yes.
Without actually having a stoner in a DCOM.
Till we get to High School Musical.
Yes. Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Nah,
you start
I'm
the
not
rating.
gonna do that.
You start the rating this time because every time you're like, I wouldn't give it that.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
I start every time.
I know. That's just the way I do things around here. I would probably give it I could give it a 4 out of 5.
I was gonna give it
honestly.
a 4. Yeah, I was gonna say
It's pretty
4.
good. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah,
It's funny.
it is funny.
I feel like I audibly laughed a couple times in this movie. I don't remember the last time I audibly laughed watching a DCOM.
That's
so
fair.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, do you have
Alright.
any other final thoughts you'd like to share on this particular DCOM?
No, I think we covered it.
Right on. I am in agreement with you there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube and you're looking for an audio-only version, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. And if you're listening to the audio-only version and you're looking for the video version, you can find it on YouTube by going to youtube.com/Noah Parker_channel, navigating to playlists and finding the DCOMKids playlist. It's one of the first ones, I believe, that pops up when you go there. It should be. That's how I have it set up. But sometimes technology doesn't do what you want it to do all the time. And yeah, we hope you enjoy reliving your childhood with us if you are like us and you grew up watching these films. If you're watching them for the first time, let us know what you think about them. Reach out, send us a DM on the Instagrams by going searching I don't know. We're on Instagram. We everything on Instagram and TikTok is all under the primary podcast, which is Noah Parker's World of Wonder. So you can just search for that on your social media platform of preference, yes. And you can find the main podcast links, and you will also find the DCOMKids links in there. I don't really think I got much else to add other than that next week we are rewatching Double Teamed. So if you are rewatching with us before we get to the episode, head over to Disney Plus and check out Double Teamed. But until then, my dear friends, let the wonder take hold.